We are live. INDIE-MATION Conversation.
Hello.
Episode 2. How you doing?
Good. I think we've mastered it now by episode 2.
Yeah, no bugs, wrinkles.
I think we're almost at retirement stage now because we've mastered it.
Yeah, that's good.
We're bored. Now what?
Okay, let's do this thing.
INDIE-MATION Conversation.
Talking about movie pictures and cartoons and whatnot. All right. So what are we talking about today? What is today?
Today, my friend, we are talking about time. And what do we mean by that? Well, we've had this conversation offline, so now let's have it online. We're not necessarily talking about timing of animation, you know, the ones, the twos, or as I do, the 52s, the 102 in animation joke. What we are talking about is making time for your animation. How do you make time for it? Animation is a time sucker. Yeah. And also, on another note, maybe I want to talk about the length, the time of your projects and how that affects your work methods, your where you're going to play these projects, the whole bit. So time is of the essence, and that's why we're here. It's time to talk time.
I'm getting a little bit of rubbing, I think, on your microphone.
Or is it that?
It's not that so much. It might be rubbing on your shirt or your.
No, I don't. Is there a mic on this? Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay, no. I'll be mindful of it.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got a little clip to kind of kick this off. We've also got Frank in the chat. How's it going, Frank? And so let's watch this.
Time, the jealous stepsister to infinity, always wanting more, never giving enough of herself. But in the end, there is no beginning, and we all dance to the music of forever.
And cut. Scene.
All
right.
It's kind of sad that I had to cut out what happened immediately after that because I can only upload 30-second clips, and that was 34 seconds.
It breaks into a song. That's actually the opening clip from an hour-long movie that I did with Counterclockwise called Foreverland. And you can see that online. That's probably my most viewed film. But let's start. I guess this would be a perfect place to kick it off with is that's an hour-long film that I did. At the time, it was the longest project I'd worked on. I think the second longest was like 20 minutes before that. And when doing it, I was like, where are we going to play this? I mean, it's an hour long. You're going to sell it to TV? You know, what are we going to do? But it finds a home. I'm finding that for me, an internal struggle for a long time was how long the project should be. I fought with myself so much about, do I do real short ones because those are easier to sell? Those are easier to get people to watch? Or do I follow my heart like an ice dancer and make my animated ballet? And I did. I followed my heart. And sometimes your heart takes you right into a wall, like a mosquito on an arm just getting swatted. And sometimes your heart takes you to the right place and it works out. And those are the best. That's when it's really worth it. You just go with your gut, follow your heart, and follow the yellow brick road.
Yeah, and it's an interesting topic, and I think I'm trending towards your way of thinking, but I might get there kicking and screaming because I've seen some incredibly moving animated shorts that are like 8 minutes long that could have been, like 3 or 4 minutes. And I think they would have been just as effective.
Yeah.
And so I think, and this isn't what you're saying, but I think just for everybody else, I want to get out of the way. I don't think long equals good. I think good equals good, and if it needs to be longer, make it longer. But if you can get it across shorter, I don't think it's bad to necessarily have brevity or anything. But in my case, let's see. So I just looked it up. I taught myself how to animate 2 years ago. I did it in 100 days. I probably put in about 300 plus hours in that 100 days. And so in that time, I tend to do this thing that a lot of people make fun of me for. But when I go to tell a story, I immediately think of this giant, huge, epic, expansive, multi-character, world-destroying thing that would take 600 pages in a comic, or 3 4-hour movies in the theaters. And then I have to be like, all right, where's the story part of this giant thing that I've just written? And I shave stuff down and recently I was in a comic anthology, and I did that. I came up with this incredible expansive story, and I still love the idea of that story. And then they came back and they said, you have 4 pages. It's like, okay, so I don't know if I could get this done in 300 pages. So I had to shave it down to 4. And so I picked a scene that kind of worked, and it had 3 acts and everything. But I also had to compress time in a way that was kind of interesting in that, because I had to kind of do some montages, which is really hard to do when you're dealing with comics, because you're dealing in still non-moving things with no music, right? But then when I took on this, I was like, I'm gonna do an animated short, 2.5 minutes, and that's including some rather long credits. So it's really like an under 2-minute thing. And now I'm writing one where I don't know how long it would take me in its current form. I think it would probably take me years to get it done. And so I'll probably shave it down to see what can I produce in a 6-month period. And so I don't know exactly. I'm kind of all over the board, but I like short stuff. I really enjoy short stories. I really enjoy encapsulated things. I enjoy the poignancy of something that's been distilled down into just the bare essence of stuff.
You want to know something I learned in the last year? Living proof, might be the last 2 years, is that feature length projects have way more gravitas than shorts. There's kind of I don't want to say there's a stigma about shorts. I mean, gosh, I've done over 50 shorts. I mean, that's pretty much all I've really done, shorts. And I wanted to expand the short I wanted to make an epic short, with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
But I found the fact that if you're working on a feature, it automatically, it's like the difference between saying I'm working on a novel to I'm working on a graphic novel. Now, you and I love graphic novels, but if you talk to the lady at the coffee shop, most likely she's not going to be into graphic novels. She's into novels. That lady gives me so much trouble, but there is something to be said about that. It is a huge undertaking to do a feature, but it does carry a lot of weight with it. But with that, though, too, you're also in danger of completely boring the audience to death,
or never finishing the project. I think there's.
No, not me, Cory, and not you. We don't have, but yes, mere mortals definitely have that. Absolutely. I mean, how many? The freeway is littered with the carcasses of unfinished features,
right?
And unfinished projects in general. But you risk that danger with a feature because it's such a long scope of work. But again, I tell if you're naive enough to just jump in and do something, sometimes that's a really great gift to have, because you don't know that you're not supposed to do that. You don't know that you're not supposed to, there's a path to get there. And sometimes when people are creatively or just naive like that, and they just attack something, they do great work. They're not they don't know that they should be afraid. It's like petting a shark, and you don't know it's a shark. I get it,
Yeah. So let's take a look at this. I want to define something before we get going too long. So I've submitted to a ton of film festivals, and I've noticed that the definition of short changes based on film festival, and the definition of a feature film changes significantly from film festival to film festival. So
I love this. I love this too, Cory. I would watch the show if I wasn't on this show because I'm very interested in this topic.
Yeah. So when we're talking shorts, there was one festival that I really liked because they said, there's a short, and that's going to be anything under 40 minutes, and then there's micro shorts, which is going to be anything under, I think they said like under 5 minutes or something, and then there's like mini micro. I can't remember what they said, but there's some sort of segment of a micro short that
tiny shorts.
Right. And I was like 20 seconds over because it was like 2 minutes and under. But I mean, when you say feature film, are you talking like a Michael Bay, your butt falls asleep 4-hour thing? Or are you talking like anything over 40 minutes? Or what are you talking?
Here's where we get to the meat of this, man, because I'm living this right now. All right, I have a 60-minute film, All That Glitters.
Yep.
This is a real life example, and I've been able to enter it into 4, maybe 5 festivals as a feature. There's a still from it. But there's other festivals that it needs to be 70 minutes to be considered a feature. And you know what? It's funny because not all of those festivals that require 70 minutes are huge festivals. Some of them are small, rinky-dink, local, festivals. Right. And then some of them are the Sundance level festivals.
That's when you just have like a black screen with the sound of dripping water for 10 minutes.
That's where they figured it out this way. They're like, hey, Charlie, how long is the feature? I don't know. That's Larry. Larry, how long is the feature? I don't know, about 70 minutes. Okay.
It's over an hour. Okay, yeah. Let's just add 10 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. How long's an hour? Well, an American hour or a European hour?
Right. European hours are significantly slower.
Yeah. So it varies. It really varies. But I mean, it's very interesting because I am at the stage right now where it feels right to do a feature. I want to do a feature. I could have never, I didn't have the desire to do a feature length besides Foreverland. That was a special circumstance. But really a few years ago, I didn't. I wanted to do shorts. But right now it feels right to do a feature, and I'm going to do a feature. And probably a few shorts throughout the year too. So, but that's a whole nother topic. But I'm finding that I'm hitting these walls where the features are just, it's crazy. Some of them, they're asking them, they're asking for 70 minutes. I think one of them was 80 minutes. And then other ones are anything over 60 minutes is a feature. Anything under 60 minutes is a short. So I, in theory, I think All That Glitters might be 59 minutes. I could have entered it in both. So that, those few seconds make a big difference. Yeah, I can add some extra credits on there or slower credits. But time comes into play sometimes in the back of your head when you're creating something. Because had I just created this film or this project and not worried how long it was going to be, I would have run into this either way. I would have run into exactly where I'm at either way. But again, I'm going to go with the stick with your, follow your heart. It works in Disney films, so why not in real life?
Yeah, just like True Love's Kiss, and Jim has a weird habit of making out with his keyboard.
Yes.
Before he gets started each time, and it adds that magic.
It is a wireless.
Yeah. So there's it's portable. So we have some slides. Do you want to take on some topics here?
Yes. And actually, Cory, if you have the elephant one, I think that one would be the best. There you go. How do you eat an elephant with Tabasco sauce?
I've always wondered why this is a question in the first place. Is there like a society somewhere that I'm unaware of that is trying to solve this problem?
Well, I think it's because of the rampant elephant problem the overpopulation in the Midwest in the
Right. They're just swarming Ohio, right?
in the 1930s. But that I love that saying, how do you, it's so daunting. A project that's so daunting. Let's say you do want to do a feature. Or if you're on the fence about doing animation and you're like, I don't have the time to do it. I don't have the time to do it.
I know people that are excellent illustrators, great cartoonists. Their production is, they're fast. They make a lot of things, and they tell me, I don't know if I could do an animation because it's so much work.
Yeah, and it is. But I mean, you're talking to the right guy here when you're talking. I mean, I'm the guy that kind of coined the whole ghetto-mation term. Just do it any way you can.
Yeah.
Figure something out, and then we're going to get to that step in a second. But the first thing to do is to do the first thing. That's the first step, is to take the first step, which sounds very Tony Robbins, but it works. I'm telling you.
Okay, I've watched hundreds, maybe thousands of people under 30, because I teach, try to start big things. And I've noticed that is not something to be taken lightly. You literally just pick something that isn't planning and make it as fast as you can. And you break something and you fix it. And if you don't know how to do it, get in and make it anyway, because you're never ready. You never have enough money. Your script is never done. The audio is never ready. I mean, like, you never have the right equipment. Like, there will never be a point in time where the planets align and you hear the Mormon Tabernacle Choir sing the Hallelujah chorus and a light descends and you say, now is the moment to start my project.
There will always be something. You could have the whole studio, the Pixar studio behind you. You could have everything, and you're like, well, we couldn't get Julie Andrews for this. There's always going to be something. Yes, and Animate for the Sell of It, by the way. Richard Solomon, great guy, great studio, local out here, says start with a 1 minute short. And that's great advice. Yeah, just do something. Once you have something done, it kind of gives you momentum. You build up. It's like if you're trying to build a pile of rocks. You just got to start with that first pebble, and then who knows? You could be crazy like me. My third project I ever did was a 15-minute animatic cartoon. And again, I was naive. I didn't know that you're not supposed to do that. And I just did it. And then you just build on from there. But yeah, taking the first step is crucial, because without the first step, there are no steps, period.
And so when you say the first step, I want to ask you specifically, like, are you talking about a specific first step? Like, is there a right first step to take?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Let's start from a person that's never animated a thing in their life. The first step would be something as simple as go to the library, get a book on animation, and at the same time, reach out to some animators or look online to see what people are using to animate and see if you can get your hands on that. A first step is a phone call. First step is an email. First step, I got a really good piece of advice from my friend Alexia. She said, especially when you have a goal, try and do one scary, well, she said scary phone call, but it could be email. One scary phone call or email a week, meaning the person that you're like, well, I want to reach out to this person, but I don't know. Am I bugging them? I've never, are they too high up on their level, with too many levels ahead of me? I'm just, and then just once a week, make a contact like that. Except don't contact me because I'm busy. But no, but really, I mean, I've had to do that, and there's been times where I haven't received an answer, and then there's been times where it's like a domino effect. One thing leads to another because you made that first step. So it's little things, little steps, and the next step will lead you to the next thing, to the next thing. A lot of you out there are way better than I am about in the technical sense. So if I can do it, you definitely can do it.
And I'll say this just really fast. I have an entire playlist, AI to AE, where if you know how to design or illustrate or whatever, a little bit about Photoshop or Illustrator, it'll teach you how to animate in After Effects. And I have tested it now. I think I counted with over 750 people over the last little bit, and it has proven exceptionally effective. So I haven't seen anything else out there like that. So if you literally don't know what to do, here's a free resource that you can do right now. I've removed all excuses.
Yeah, I wish that existed back in the early 2000s. I got the Dummies book on After Effects back then, and I realized they wrote this book for me because I had such trouble comprehending. I actually had the After Effects manual in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I can't focus long enough to read stuff like that. My mind wanders and I get really distracted, and so I just have to just pick a project and then blunder my way through it until at the end of it I know how to do that software or whatever. And so everybody learns differently, but the fact of the matter is, I want people to understand that if you want to get into animation, you can't let your lack of know-how stop you from animating.
Right.
I would recommend that as you're learning, you are trying to make stuff. Like, try to make it happen while you're figuring it out, because you can have this kind of like research paralysis, planning paralysis situation where you just indefinitely plan or indefinitely learn, and you become the most learned loser on the planet because you know all these things that you've never used. Whereas I know people out there that know way more about the software than I do, but I've made more things than them and I've finished more projects.
Yeah. So some of the best indie animations I've seen, and the ones that seem to grab my interest, they're starting from story first, and you can tell that animation came just like me, came secondly. That's a strong thing too. If you're a storyteller, be very, very glad that you're coming from that side, because you have a huge advantage, because there's a lot of people that can animate, but not a lot of people that can tell stories. And that's huge. That's a great skill to have. It's a great thing, Cory, that you have that AE.
Yeah. So with this, when we're talking about this elephant, whether this is a feature film or somebody's first short, because it could take you months to do your first 60 seconds of animation or something, right? If you don't know what you're doing, you take that first step. I think the trick is this, right? Because the analogy is one bite at a time, right?
Right.
You don't sit there and you just cut something off and eat it, and then cut something else off and eat it. And so that's kind of the same thing. Is you go, well, I don't know, I don't know where to start, but I think I can figure out this part. And so you jump in and you do that part, and then you're going to know a little bit more. And from that vantage point, you jump in and you do another part. And so I use this analogy all the time. There's Grace Harper, the old lady of the Navy, says a ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are made for. And so the idea of a boat is I can sit there and I can turn the wheel all I want, and the rudder is going to flap back and forth. But if that boat isn't moving, that doesn't do anything. There has to be water moving across that rudder for that boat to steer. And when I leave the harbor, my vantage point changes, because I now have some progress and I can see different things that I couldn't see a couple leagues ago or whatever. I don't know what a measurement in water is, but I go out there, right? And my view changes and my knowledge changes. I've now got a little bit of experience and a different vantage point. And so I can say, well, now that I'm here, what's the next step? I don't know. I'm going to try to go over there. So you turn and you go that direction, right? And as long as you're moving forward in your project, one step at a time, you're way better off than all those people that have, the Silmarillion, locked in their locker, where they've developed all of the things and done nothing to start.
Right. And to add to that, let's say a student animator or somebody that's really scared to do animation, they feel like they're on a jet ski rather than a boat. You're still in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. So if you're a student animator, don't consider yourself a student animator. You're an animator. So
also, along those lines, something I've noticed is that the jet ski is significantly more maneuverable than the giant battleship. right?
Yeah, right.
And so that they say this a lot when it comes to disruption. You take this giant, monolithic, huge, gargantuan company, they can't pivot on a dime. It's this huge machine. It takes 1,500 people to turn a degree. But if you're in a dinghy, man, you dig that ore in and you'll spin on a dime. You can go wherever you want, right? And so don't look at that as a disadvantage because you can disrupt really, really well.
And this has been INDIE-MATION Conversation, sponsored by Sea-Doo.
Right. Okay. What's the next? The
next one is about picking a method. And something I always say is definitely work in a method that allows you to finish. That is key, because if you are, let's say, trying to start a project and you're using software or a method of creation, very important, a method of creation even, that is taking you way too long to ever finish anything, you're not going to get a good flow. I mean, your story is going to suffer. There's a difference between, again, you'll find I only talk in analogies. It's like if you were shooting baskets or playing in a game and you had really horrible shoes. It's going to impede the way you play the game. It's going to impede you even finishing the game. But if you have really comfortable shoes, it doesn't mean you're going to be the star, but you're going to finish the game.
Right.
And you might foul out. Who knows? Might get an elbow to the nose. But if you, with that being said, I'm saying if you are doing too much prep work, if you're doing a character Bible for way too long, if you're doing the walk cycle is killing you. It's killing you. You can't progress past that. Figure out a way to get past it. You have to get past it. You have to figure out a method of working that allows you to finish. That's huge, because without that, it doesn't exist.
Okay, so I feel like you are directly criticizing me.
Cory,
I know that
your method. No,
I know that you've started the show specifically just to tell me how all the things I've done wrong.
Dear Cory, sponsored by Sea-Doo.
Right.
No,
so I have done this where, and I've caught myself doing this where I'm animating, and I rig up a character, and I think I want to make this puppet. So I animate with vector puppets, right? Mostly, or sometimes raster based. And I'll make a puppet. I need it for one scene. I've storyboarded it. I know how I want it to move. And yet I'll spend 3 days making sure that this puppet is rigged in such a way that I could make it do anything. If I wanted to, I could make it do jumping jacks. I could make it do kung fu. And really all I need him to do is like wave at something, right? And then that's it. And so I don't even need to rig that character to get him to wave, right? But I've built a whole skeletal structure. I've rigged him up. I've used all these plugins, and I learned a lot in that process. But I probably could have got that done in an hour rather than in 8 hours.
There's a fine line too, because I know Pixar. I remember when Monsters Inc. came out, they said like there'd be a piece of paper and there would be on a desk, and there would be a note on that desk. Like and they show it from far, and you don't even get to see, but it exists. They put all the details in there, that's part of the fun of making stuff. Sometimes it is fun to do that. So you got to have fun doing that, as long as it doesn't stop you. I mean, as long as you can realize. And the older you get, the less energy you have for that. You're like, it doesn't matter. but I mean, it is fun. You got to balance it out. But I'm big on finishing. You got to finish. Everybody starts projects and we don't finish them. Everybody does it. It's just the nature of the way we work. But it can't be a habit. That's got to be the exception rather than the rule. And finding a method that works for you is really key. So, you just got to play around. It took me a long time to figure out what I needed and what I don't need. And even now, I'm adding little things here and there. I'm getting rid of things. But bottom line is it's got to be secondary. The method has to be secondary. The story, the project, the feel have to be first. And
And
no, Cory, I was not talking to you.
I know. Here's the thing. I think there are several things that are really important. One thing is, I think you should swing for the fences and do the most incredible thing you possibly can. And at the same time, recognize that you are one person doing this by yourself. And so I would love to animate like a feature film like Disney used to in the 50s, where they hand draw every frame of a 90-minute movie. And you can look, and if you go pause 101 Dalmatians, go pause The Little Mermaid before they got into computers. You actually see the pencil marks in every frame. To me, that's beautiful. That's incredible. That is not possible for a single person to do in a decade. It's just too much work. And so there are cheats that you can do to get an effect, to get an emotion. But I mean, if I were to do that, I feel like it would be completely and holistically self-indulgent, because I would never finish that project, and I would have a stack 4 feet high of hand-drawn cells that I did, that they could bury me with, in my grave when I die with this unfinished project.
At your art table.
At my art table, right? But there are still things that I can learn from that process. So there's this balance, and you have to recognize that when Disney did that, they had like 50 full-time professional artists working on it, and it still took them years.
Yeah.
And so times years by 50, and that's how long it would take you, right? And so there's just not enough time on this planet to do that thing. And so your limitations, and this is where the other thing comes in that I think is really helpful. Your limitations can be really helpful as long as you are curious, you refuse to not finish something. So it's just a non-negotiable, and you're lazy. And everybody looks at lazy as a bad thing, but I am constantly looking at the world and trying to see how I can make it easier for me.
I like that.
Everything. I'm looking at everything in my life, and I'm like, I wonder what I could tweak about making this sandwich so that I could shave off a couple seconds off making, because I don't want to spend any more time in the kitchen than I have to.
Right.
Like there are things in my life that I've got down to a science, because I don't want to do that thing so much that I will automate, I will eliminate, I will simplify, and that can be really effective. There's a myth, I don't know if this is true, that Henry Ford said, find the laziest person in your factory and put him in charge, because he will figure out how to do less work. And so he put this lazy guy here, and the guy came to him one day and he said, what would be really awesome is if I could like have a chair, so I didn't have to stand all day. And so like, yeah, you can have a chair. A couple days later is, I keep having to get up out of my chair. Okay. So, I mean, like if you could like bring the controls to my chair, just like give me like a lever to pull and a couple buttons, like I can do all. And so then they built this like command station for this guy, and this lazy innovator like revolutionized that portion of the process of building a car. And then they put him in a different spot. And he's like, well, now I have to work hard again. And so he was just geared towards, I don't want to work hard. I don't want to waste my time. And so everywhere where they put him, they would just move stuff and tweak things and give him exactly what he wanted. And over and over and over again, I don't know how true this is, but over and over and over again, it just made the process better. And that's how my animation is. Jim and I were talking earlier. I'm literally I watched Jim's process, which next episode we're gonna go over our proselytized, and we are going to. But I'm watching him do this, and one thing that he does really well is lip sync, right? He's got different mouth shapes for different sounds, and he goes in and he listens and he puts that sound in, and he listens and he puts that sound in. And I thought, that's amazing. I never want to do that. And so then I started thinking, like, could I like automate this process? Could I somehow like use the decibel levels of the audio track to trigger some sort of animation so that it just does it for me?
Wow.
I think I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try it this weekend. So we'll see if that is going to be a huge waste of time. But yeah, I think that's really important is you have to strike a balance between like, what can you get done? Like, how long do you want to spend on this? Because that limitation is going to drive your process.
Yeah. It also leads to great inventions like the shake weight too. So.
What?
Don't exercise. It just does the exercise for you.
Right.
So, you know what? Our conversation about being lazy was kind of not the correct word, but it is a form of work smarter, not harder. You will work hard. If you're an animator, you won't get around it. You're going to work hard, but save that energy for working hard for the right spots on your project.
I like the idea of working smarter and harder. I just don't want to work harder and have it be really ineffective. Like put in 10 hours on something and then look at it and go, it's barely anything, you know?
Or I didn't need to kill myself to do that. I could have done it like this. Yeah. Pick your battles, because you're going to definitely have battles when you're making your projects. But I'm one of the key tenements I believe in is fun. Everything comes out better if you're having a good time. Like they say, it doesn't seem like work when you're enjoying it. It's work, but it doesn't seem like it, because and animation should be fun. We all have opportunities to not have fun at work in other methods. You know, why should your passion be something that's not fun?
Yeah.
So, do we have another title card?
We do.
I think we might. I think it might be a very important.
We've got two more.
All right.
So I think this one is an appropriate one for we can segue into it.
Yes. I'm huge on. If you've ever watched my work, you know I believe in this. That perfect can be the enemy of done. You can get your projects. This goes for anything. This doesn't go for animation. You can psych yourself out. You know, you can ice the kicker, let's say. You can look at something and find flaws in it all day long and try to correct those flaws and go over it and over it. But you know what? Ultimately, does the audience really care? That's what you got to kind of a cold-hearted question that you need to ask yourself as a creator is, does the audience care? Because you might care and they might not. And then there's other things where you might feel like you're getting away with something, and then the audience calls you on it. I know that's happened to me many times, but yeah, definitely pick your battles when it comes to this one.
And when we're talking finishing, right? When we're talking starting and finishing projects, perfect is the enemy of done, because perfect is impossible. It's impossible to get to that. And so if you're seeking perfection, that's a death march into eternity where you will never get there, right? So at some point in time, was it Donatello or Michelangelo? I don't know, one of the old painters, right? One of those old.
I thought you meant one of the Ninja Turtles. So.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it could have been. It could have been one of the Ninja Turtles. I think it was the orange one, who said, "Art is never finished; it's just abandoned in a good place."
I like that. That's really good.
And so, like, I like the thought, like, let's drive towards quality. Let's make the best thing that you can possibly make. But quality is not perfection, because I don't even like the term perfection. I like the term toxic perfection, because toxic perfectionism is a perfect description of what that is, because people who seek perfection are usually have horribly negative self-talk. They're usually beating themselves up. They're usually comparing themselves to everybody else around them. And seeking perfection is an unhealthy way to think, and it's a miserable way to live, and you will never finish a project.
Yeah. One compliment I have to give you, Cory, is I've been very impressed by every time you show me something, it's something new that you're working on, a different scene or a different thing. You're not showing me the same bug 50 times in a row. Look, Jim, I've animated his left thorax now, you know, and that there's a lot. That's a trait that a lot of animators have. They're like, oh, I just scrapped everything, and I was doing this at 12 frames per second, but now it's 16 frames per second, and it's like the audience doesn't care. They're just like, well, what's the bug's story?
Yeah,
a bug story.
Right.
But yeah. So I'm very impressed. You have I've always said this, and mark my words, because this guy is an award-winning animator. Here, it's time to break out the awards, Cory. Wow, look at that. That's sick.
I'm still trying to figure out ways to turn these into earrings.
Cory, what are those? Read those to us.
So this one is the best animated film for the Florence Film Awards.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wow.
And this one is the best animated film for the New York Movie Awards.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, Cory. Well, I've still got the Nomi.
I know. I want a Nomi. Yes. I don't even know.
All right, hold your awards up again.
Okay, hold on. Let's do this. Are we doing this for the? Yeah. This is going to be the thumbnail after this. Just all three. There we go. Mm-hmm. It's good times. Mm-hmm. Good times. I especially like when I hold my head back like this. My triple chin looks really. I'm trying to imitate the Nomi.
Okay, we got our thumbnail.
But yeah, so the
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
This is so awesome. All right.
Yeah, it's won 5 awards so far, and it's screened in 17 festivals. So
that's amazing. That's a lot for a film.
It's a volume game. I'm getting into about half of the festivals I've applied to, and so there's still quite a few that are reporting back. But yeah, I mean,
Cory told me he applied for 30,000 festivals. That's what he told me.
88 festivals. So, and that should be another episode that we go over, because I think I've got some good tips on how not to spend $40 billion applying to festivals. So
I need that. So yes, let's do that.
But yeah, I try really hard to not stagnate. And I think part of this is because in my mind, I'm the worst. I'm slow, and I started late. So I started drawing when I was 32. I started animating when I was 37. And so I feel like I'm playing catch up. Mm-hmm. And I think that's helpful, right? If I use that to beat myself up, if I use that to like not make things, it's a thing that exists. When you're going with existentialism, it's facticity, right? I can't change it. It is what it is. But I can use it to drive, and I can use it to motivate. And so when I made this short, this is the first short I've ever made. This is the first animated short I've ever made. The first story I've ever tried to tell. I've done a number of animations, but they were me teaching myself how to do it. And so when I did this, I literally did it out of spite. I saw a group of students, about 10 students, try to do an animation in 12 weeks. And just to kind of prove a point, I said, I bet I could do more than you by myself in a shorter time. And so I did it by myself in 6 weeks.
Is the title of the film called Suck It?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No. The title of the film is "Put Your Heart Into It," which is probably just as pedantic.
Yeah. Wait. Do you have a poster for it?
Yeah. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have it loaded. Okay. I've got this. This is a little outdated, but the poster's on the left.
That's not even enough awards.
They're still coming. They're still coming. But yeah, no. I mean, it was interesting because when we're talking quality and perfection, I took so many shortcuts on this, and there's so many things about this that still bother me every time it's on the screen. But I have to remind myself, I am the only one that sees that thing.
Right,
Because
right.
there are things, I'll tell you right now, that yellow shirt is hiding a multitude of sins. There are so many things underneath that yellow shirt that are ugly and don't work right and look poor and whatever. And in the shadows of that fly's purple jacket on his vest, I mean, I was just Magnola, like when in doubt, black it out on this. Like if something didn't join correctly or fit right, it's like, okay, that's a big giant shadow now. It's a huge shadow.
Well, Cory, you're the supermodel that's going, my eyelids are so thin. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's my point, right? My point is not that I'm a supermodel, that's a given, but is that it's that no one sees that, right? When you're thinking about your audience, no one has any idea what you meant to do. They just see what you did. They have no idea what broke 15 times before you got it right. They just see the finished product, and they don't know what you had in your mind. They just see what you made. And so
I'll be honest with you, Cory. Sometimes my audience has overestimated me. They've read deeply into things I've done where, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to claim that now.
right.
And that's
Yes,
a number of times. Yes, of course, that was Obama in
right.
that scene, representing the world stage.
If you were to read some of the trivia on the IMDb page for my short, you will see some stuff that came after the fact that seems planned.
Well,
planned.
It's like this is an old trick too that comic book artists do. Is they come out with sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And, this is the designs for my graphic novel. And it's obviously done after the fact. They're like super, fleshed out and everything. And you're like, man, it looks like you might have drawn this 2 weeks ago.
Right. And yeah. So perfection, right? That's perfection.
Yes. So be easier on yourselves. I mean, still strive for as perfect as you can get it, but let it be.
Okay. And since I'm a narcissist and everything is about me, this next one is definitely targeted right at me.
Collaborate when you need to. What does that mean?
I will tell you a story about put your heart into it. I know nothing about music. I know less than nothing about music. I can listen to music. To a certain extent, I can cut existing music because I've been a video editor for decades, and so I got a little bit of timing. But creating it is not it's not one of those things that I'm ever going to be able to do. I just don't have that, right? But when I was doing this short, I wanted one name on the credits. I wanted to do all of the things. I didn't want to collaborate at all. And you
wanted to be Prince.
Right. I want people to just be in awe of the amount of different things that I can do. And the fact of the matter is, music composition is never going to be one of them. And so I reached out to Joseph Eberl, who is a student of mine, and he is a phenomenal composer. And I cannot believe what he was able to pull out and make in such a short period of time. And working with him was huge for me because it was like, other people can add value to my project, and I don't need to be so prideful that I get in my own way, because to be perfectly honest, that short would have sucked had I done all the music. It just would have sucked.
I'm going to tell you a little story, Cory. True story. When I first started doing animation, I did animatics, complete just animatics. I mean, I think I used to, that's how long ago it was. I used to take the camera and film these little index cards, not even take a picture of them, film them for like 30 seconds. And then I audio and video dubbed it onto a VHS cassette. I I recorded an audio skit, and then I would match the images over it. I'd edit it. So I did that for a while, and then I learned how to animate a little bit. And for the first 5 or so years, 6 years of animating, it was all me. I did all the voices, all the music, all the everything. And I think after a while, something in my own head said, I'm getting bored of myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't say playing with myself. I was going to say I'm getting bored playing with myself, but I did not. So just take note of that. I'm very classy. Okay. Well done, Jim. Pat. But that's why I brought people in. I did everything at first out of necessity because I was it. That was it. I was the only person to work on my stuff. As time went on, I got to meet other people, and then I started collaborating. Early on, I started collaborating with vocalists to do theme songs.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always done that pretty much. But as far as voice talent, I started cherry picking people because I wanted them in the films, not because I needed them, because I wanted them. And now, the last 4 or 5 years, it is like my greatest joy to work with other people. I really enjoy everybody that's been in any of my films. It's because they bring me a lot of joy, and they're like muses to me. They is that like a demeaning thing to call somebody a muse? You're a muse, a little muse. But they are. They inspire me. They're inspirations. So so I gladly give up the credit for. I gladly give up the, even writing credit. I've shared writing credits with people and stuff like that. So I kind of came at it backwards, but I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you mean because it's a Cory Kerr production. Directed by Cory Kerr. But I'll tell you something, it looks horrible on credits when you go directed by Cory Kerr, lit lighting, Cory Kerr, catering, Cory Kerr, a Cory Kerr production in association with Cory Kerr Productions. I've done that. You put your name on all the credits. Secretly, it's just a lot of fun to have a lot of names on the credits too, because you could play a song over them, so as the credits roll.
Right. I think credits are fun, and I think one of the best things about credits is animating the credits.
So do you feel like yourself? Do you feel your heart is opening up to other people being involved in your films? Are you gonna start looking for vocal talent, or
yes. Well, because for me, I will never, well, I don't want to say never. I was going to say I will never sacrifice the quality of the project for my own pride. And so if the story, if the emotion, the mood, or the beats, whatever I'm going for at the time calls for something that somebody else can do better than me.
Yeah.
In most situations, I will reach out to somebody, with the exception of the stuff that I feel is the core element, is my core competency. So, for example, I can't think of a situation where I would have somebody else do the illustration.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But because that's core to me. But I've done animations with Joshua Kemble and Scott Circland, who have both done all of the illustration, and I did enjoy that collaboration. And so, but when it's my story and it's my film, I think that's something that I want to hold on to. But if I were to ever collaborate, because I've talked to friends and we've said, hey, we should do something together. I think in that situation, I'd be totally cool with mixing it up or having them do it or whatever. And so it really, for me, depends on the project. But I mean, even in the workforce, one of my strengths is, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't mind looking foolish for asking a question about something I don't know. And I'm totally okay admitting that somebody on my team is better than me at something. And that was something as an art director, as a marketing director, in those roles that I feel like really helped my team, because I could do all of the things. I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife when it comes to visual communication, but the specialist is a better photographer than I am. I can get the shot, but that guy can get the shot better than I can. And so I would let him get the shot.
Cory, before we wrap things up, because I know we're going to wrap up pretty soon.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce our new segment that we're going to have every episode, called Mailbag.
Yes, mailbag.
Look
Tell
at that
us.
graphic. Woo!
It's that graphic is so good that
It's
it must have
3D.
taken you weeks.
It's 3D.
I just realized. Hold that up again.
There are mistakes in this
What?
that I can see that nobody else can see.
I want to know, what have you done to your camera to cause this forced vignette? You've got some sort of snoot or something.
Oh, that's really weird. You're right.
It's like a.
I don't know. That's weird. You're right. I just noticed that.
I think it's.
I know what it
it's
is.
classy.
It's a demon.
That's what it is.
Be gone, demon.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
We had somebody give us a. Let's see if I have it on my phone. You might have it on there.
Oh yeah, we had a comment.
Yeah, we had a comment. So, by the way, if you're a viewer out there and you have a question or something for us, you can just either leave it in the comments or go to Cory's house at any hour, knock on the door or a window, and throw a little rock through it or something. Or you could just leave a comment, whatever's easier. But yeah, we want to read your comments and questions and stuff on the air. This is kind of fun. When I saw that we had a comment, I was so excited. I wanted to read it.
Okay.
Let me know. You got it, or you want me to pull it up?
I can. I'll pull it up. Had you given me a heads up, I would have made a fancy graphic.
See,
bringing stuff on me.
That's fancy. What are you talking about? That's took me at least 40 seconds, maybe 50 to do.
Yeah.
You know, I had to spell check it, everything.
Okay, here we are. This is me screencasting the comment section. Oh no, my stats are showing. How embarrassing. Okay, so yeah, we had a lot of people comment, which is really fun. Skylar Martin asked a question, which is even more fun. So he said, I enjoyed this. I'm not an animator, but the conversation applied to a lot of things I've been doing and thinking about with indie documentary filming. I'd like to hear your thoughts on super small scale crowdfunding for shorts. So what are your thoughts on super small scale crowdfunding for shorts? And while you're saying those thoughts, I am going to have a graphic come up that says,
hey, I like this, by the way.
Crowdfunding for shorts.
More often. This is a cool view.
Okay, so what are you
okay, anytime you're doing any kind of crowdfunding, just be careful, because it's kind of like asking your family for money. You don't want to be the guy that's always asking, for. However, I mean, your family wants to help you, and people want to help you. People will get excited if you do present it to them. Mini crowdfunding, super small scale. You know what? Why not? I want to do a screening, and I'm going to do a screening at a theater. Well, I've done it once, but I didn't pay for it last time. Thank you, Charlie Rossman, by the way. You're awesome. But I want to pay out of my own pocket to rent a theater and play some of my works. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a little crowdfunding. Then I remembered I'm super rich. I am like so rich. So, but I don't know. But that is a good idea, super small scale, because you can make that amount. Why not? I say why not. I have no experience in super small crowdfunding, but it sounds like a good idea. If I saw something that was something that was interesting to me, and I thought, oh, this deserves to be funded, I would totally, whether it was a Kickstarter or a small, they're looking to make $60 or something like that. Doesn't matter. So
I've got a number of thoughts that I will give quickly, because I'm trying to be more concise in my life, and I'm a long-winded bag. But I've backed. I got on Kickstarter when it launched, and I've backed 100 and something projects on Kickstarter. Sometimes those projects, I'm just like, I don't have a lot of scratch right now, so here's $1. I just think this is a cool project. I don't need anything. And other times, much more than that. Here's the thing with money. When you take somebody else's money, they're doing that for a reason. You've got to give them something. And oftentimes, if you take somebody's money, you have to start listening to their opinion. And as soon as you have to take that into account, And I'm not talking about like I made a thing and you can buy it, and now because you bought my thing, I have to listen to everything you have to say because that's garbage. But if you're an investor in the production of something, that's different, right? That could be considered a commission. That could be considered, part ownership or whatever. You've got to figure out what you're giving up. And for me, I most of the time would rather save and sacrifice so that I have all the creative control. But I could think of some situations where somebody's just like, I'm a huge fan. I just love what you do. I want to help you do X, and I've got this money. And so I'd want to give them, a producer credit. I'd want to get them, something for that, but I would still maintain creative control in that situation.
Yeah.
Unless, and I always have this caveat: if you pay me enough, I will sell out. I will completely sell out. And so I'm talking like if you're going to come in with a couple $1,000, I'm going to maintain creative control. But you add a couple zeros to that, I might do whatever you say, And so, I mean, if Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or, Disney Plus or whatever, if they saw something and they're like, hey, we want to do this, but, if that doesn't go against some core value or belief system that I have, I might do it, And so it kind of depends. I think everything is kind of a balance and it's a nuanced question, but I would just be very aware of what the expectations of that transaction are.
To quote the great Cyndi Lauper, money changes everything. So it does. If there's real money involved, your decisions will be a little bit skewed, a little bit different. But I'd be excited to see him try. I'm always excited when I see people trying to raise funds or awareness for their creative projects.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that do it all the time for everything. And then you're like, really? Didn't I just give you $10 last month? But just know be self-aware when you do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm like I said, I'm not against that idea. I think it could work. And if you're excited about it, I like to say Tom Sawyer or somebody. Is it Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn that painted the fence? I think it was Tom Sawyer.
I think it is Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, I think.
Huck Finn was his friend. Tom Sawyer was the one that painted the fence. Yeah.
Yeah. He painted the fence and convinced all his friends, look how much fun I'm having. And then they painted the fence. And then Rush wrote a song about him.
And that is the pinnacle of Tom Sawyer's career, is that he is the title of a Rush song. I will say this: some people want to be involved in stuff, like they're just like I just I'm all about this, and it makes me excited, and I've gotten a lot out of it, and I've done that. I've given money to things, crowdfunding things that I don't care about at all. I don't even care if they ever finish it, and it's because that person has made such an impact in my life with their content or with their books or with their whatever, that if they want to throw it out there and say, I'm going to try something weird, like, yeah, man, have at it. Here's $10, And so, and I'm in those situations, I've gotten so much more out of that relationship from their podcast or their YouTube channel or their Instagram or whatever, that I don't ever care. It's fine.
Okay, two more comments. Let me see if there's any questions or anything. Tom Sawyer, the best salesman, says Salazar Art Nation. Hey, Cory, can you go back? And there's one from Animate, Richard Solomon, Animate for the Sell of It.
Yeah.
That one. Can we make this our motto?
Sure.
Okay.
Jim is good at both.
Yes.
That sounds like an odd motto for me, but it works for you. So,
thank you. So, all right. Well, I think we hit the hour, so we're good. Yeah. This was a lot of fun, man. I got some valuable information for myself. That's why we're doing these. The selfish reason, because we're kind of answering each other's questions and putting the questions out there into the universe so other people can help us answer them as well.
Yeah. So let's do some housekeeping. So that's kind of the conversation. We don't know where this is going. I want to say this about Frank. Frank says, that's how I feel about Scott Cirkland. I gladly buy his merch because he has given me a lot of value. And Scott is one of those guys. And if you don't know CircWorks, check out CircWorks. But Scott's one of those guys who puts way more into the world than the world gives him. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, that guy is constantly adding value wherever he goes and just produces incredible stuff. And that always pays. That always pays back, not necessarily monetarily, but it always pays back. Karma, the law of the harvest, whatever you want to call it, stuff always comes back.
Scott Cirkland is a beautiful and kind art warrior. So
yes,
you can quote me on that.
I will, and it's now forever immortalized on YouTube until the FTC shuts my channel down. So, but housekeeping. So for housekeeping, I want to say that. Oh, hey, Scott's here.
Oh, that's Scott Cirkland.
This one.
Sorry, that's a different one. I was thinking of the other guy.
Yeah. So I will say this. We don't know where this is going. Right now it lives on YouTube. It will likely always live on YouTube. It may also become a podcast if enough people demand it of us. But it also, we're going to kind of house it. And this is how prepared I am for this portion of the thing.
While you're typing, can I say something really quick?
Yes, please.
I had no desire to do a podcast or a video cast. There wasn't a moment I sat back and go, what can I make a video cast about? My purpose for doing this is two things. One, I have questions. Like as a creator, I have questions. I have questions. This is a great way to start a dialogue and answer and see other people's perspectives. The other second reason is shameless self-promotion constantly. So we're getting ready for that. It's coming up soon.
But I will say this. I don't know if we're gonna have a mailing list. I don't know if we're gonna have whatever. But right now we have a page that will do nothing but tell you when the next episode is. That's what that page is. It's CoryKerr.com/IMC for INDIE-MATION Conversation. And if you go there right now, it'll be telling you about the show that's currently happening. But we're gonna kind of keep all the episodes there. And then there will always be at the top of it, like the next show will be at, because I fear commitment, and I don't know how much I like Jim yet, and so I don't know how much I want to spend time with him.
I never realized he started recording either, so I was like, "What? We're already on the air." And by the way, I do love Scott Cirkland, always and forever.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So if you want to go there, that's going to be, we're probably Tuesdays seems like it's going to shake out. We're not exactly sure on that. We'll kind of play that by ear. I'm still going to continue to do the 48-hour art check on Monday, Wednesday. And I will still be occasionally on Artcasters on Thursdays whenever they have me on, and Jim will do that as well, and other people and whatever. And so Tuesday's looking good or whatever. But the idea is this. Follow Jim on all the places, follow me on all the places, and we'll make the announcements as they come. But this is kind of the page where as soon as we know, I'll just go on there and leave a little note, say, we're going to go live at this point in time. This is awesome. We had a pretty active chat, which is cool. Here's the other thing. Everyone's left by now, I'm sure, because I've been rambling for several minutes. But the other thing is, in the comments, not in the chat, but in the comments, let us know what you'd like to know.
Yeah.
We'd love questions, and they might be like a mailbag, 5-minute rant thing, or it could be that it spurs an entire episode, or both. And so leave that in the comments. Hit the thumbs up. hit the subscription thing and the bell and all the stupid YouTube crap that they make you do, all the hoops you have to jump through to get notified. And Jim, where can we find your stuff?
Go to jimlujan.com. I think right now that points to my YouTube channel. And also, you know what? Instagram. Instagram is probably where I'm most active. So
Okay.
my Instagram is Jim Lujan. So
Great. And you can always find my stuff at corykerr.com, and there's a little link that says something about where I am on the internet or whatever, and that will take you to all the places. Also very active on Instagram, and if you're interested in learning animation for After Effects, I've got that playlist that I was talking about. You can see that at corykerr.com/videos. And if you are interested in just seeing little tips and tricks and tidbits or whatever, that's all Instagram right now. Is I'm trying to do one a week where I've got some cool animation and then a little thing on how I made it. So
go to YouTube and listen to the Fake Explosion too. That's my music playlist that I created on YouTube.
The Fake Explosion.
The Fake Explosion.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we'll see you guys when we see you. Check all that stuff out so that you know when, and we'll see you in a week or 2 or 9 months or something. And we're out. I feel like we should have an outro. I'm just gonna
make cartoons.
INDIE-MATION Conversation.
Talking about movie pictures and cartoons and whatnot.